Some claim that the age of a true gentleman is far behind us, but here at 284 Media, we disagree. He may appear in different guises today, but the values and ideals that make him a gent still stand. Gentlemen, aspiring gentlemen, and of course, our partners that hold us down. I'm Ron Grant. Welcome back to Season 5 of The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman, a show poised to help guide modern-day men into 21st century distinguished gentlemen. Now don't worry, it's not always about suits and bow ties, but raw, real-life lessons that truly translate to grounded, community-minded, well-rounded men. Thank you all for taking this amazing journey with me. Gordon Commissioner Williams, that's the name, globally recognized for his years of stellar contributions towards the music industry. Gordon has taken many paths during his musical career and has proven successful in many ventures. His extensive resume includes multiple Grammy Awards and numerous gold and platinum albums. He has worked with top artists such as Beyonce, Jay-Z, Kanye West, Lauryn Hill, Will Smith, Alicia Keys, Wyclef Jean, 50 Cent, and many others. Currently, Williams has finished music supervision for a recent film titled The Banker, starring Anthony Mackie, Samuel L. Jackson, and Nia Long, as well as launching the Lalabella Entertainment Group, which will be focused on content creation and distribution for various media outlets in Asia, Africa, Europe, and the Caribbean. Now, his commitment to empowering others through music, content creation, and the likes are a testament to the values instilled in him through his very strong family foundation. He's a father, son, and the homie who hails from the Bronx, New York, and by far one of the best and brightest in the industry, and I may add, a true 21st century distinguished gentleman. We talk music, lessons learned, the love of family, and the next chapter, of course, the legacy that will forever live. It's a conversation you don't want to miss. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break. Gentlemen, it's time to discover That Guy Experience. We are a product line specifically catering to the men with beards. Our products are 100% natural and handmade right here in the BVI. Butters, oils, and cleansing products, all designed to add softeners, shine, and growth to your beard and hair. Visit us at Meraki Hair Clinic or thatguybvi.com and begin your journey as that guy. We are a life-changing experience. That Guy Hair and Beard Products. Welcome back, everyone. As promised, I'm here with the one and only Gordon Commissioner Williams. You are watching The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman. Thank you so much for being with us. Welcome to our set, and by extension, welcome to the British Virgin Islands.
Thanks, Ron.
Absolutely. Now, as I mentioned in the introduction, you have, and it could only be described as a very illustrious career within the music industry. You also have a very strong sense of self and love for family through your foundation, of how you were raised as a young man. You are from Caribbean parents, so you understand that cultural demographic.
Yes, I do.
Lucian and Tobagoan, is that how you say it?
Tobagonian.
Tobagonian, all right. I stand corrected. Tell me about your introduction. I want to start with your introduction to the music industry and how that love came about.
Well, I think it initially happened for me in the Bronx with the advent of hip hop. So, my first exposure to what people would call hip hop was outside. There wasn't any hip hop records at the time. It was a local movement, and being exposed to that, being exposed to the older guys in the neighborhood playing music and rapping and break dancing, outside, it just bit me as a kid. And when I saw that, I said, hey, I want to do that.
Okay. And what was it like growing up in the Bronx?
It was fun, but it was tough. I was in a single parent household. My mom and dad split probably when I was around 8 years old. So from that point, 7, 8, I didn't really see, there wasn't a man around in the house. And so my men became the outside men, so in that transition of, kind of trying to find a male role model and then also being exposed to music, it was tough because it was a rough neighborhood. It was myself and my brother and my mom. But, my mom, God bless her, she was a very strong woman and she held us down.
You talk very highly of your mom.
Yes.
And the fact that you credit her for not only your introduction to, production and engineering and the music, tell me about your relationship with your mom and how that has made you into who you are today.
You know, it's funny because we had a hard relationship. You know, I can't always say that it was good because really, as I look back on it, it was me. You know, that father leaving the home, that, you know, that trying to find your way as a young male, that thinking about you have to protect, you know, your little brother, you have to protect your mom. You know, it did create a lot of distance between us, you know, and me looking for that. But what I must say is that she supported me. Even though I probably was doing a lot of things that were a little hurtful, she still supported me. And that support helped build the foundation to set up the studio. My first studio started in my bedroom. It was two turntables. It was a DJ. I started as a DJ. So 2 turntables turned into recording equipment, a 4-track, an 8-track, and then a record deal, you know? So she was always there. And I think later on, we became closer because, you know, as time went on, now she eventually got sick. She developed dementia and then it turned into Parkinson's. And that's pretty much what, you know, took her out. She passed this year in March. And, you know, I took care of her for the last maybe 10 years, 11 years. She was, you know, with me. And it was like a healing thing because it's almost like she became the child and I became the parent. So all of those things that went on that I didn't really understand, maybe when I was younger, I was forced to confront and actually maybe even do some of the things for her that she did for me. And it grew me up, you know, and it also, I think, fueled why I'm so passionate about young people and working with them and being like a big brother in a sense. Yeah, I'm your teacher. Mentor. But even more than that, you know, I think that sometimes we get caught up in titles. Right?
Of course.
And the titles make us behave a certain way rather than just being, you know? So when they say, well, God is love, right? And then they tell you all of these things, but when you get down to it, what is this one simple thing? It's love. So if you could do that, you teach all of these things in this one thing. And I think that's what I learned, you know, with her. And that's what I try to do with young people.
Amazing. I want to go back to the fact that you mentioned being in a single parent home because within our observation, just, you know, in our neighborhoods and our communities, there is the absence in many cases of the father figure. What would you say would be your observation in interacting and observing when it comes to the next generation of young men? What are you most concerned about?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. That lack of the male in the home, you know, has damaged the males. And now, and the males getting damaged, the family unit is damaged. So it's not by chance that all of these circumstances and things that's going on in our communities happen because we're missing that. So I think that, you know, having mentorship, having that guidance is very important for our young, you know, for our young males.
Understood. You are a father of 2?
Father of 2, yes.
So 2 kids, and then it was you and your brother.
Two
right?
and 2.
Yeah. 2 and 2.
Yeah.
What are some of the lessons that you've taken from how your mom raised you into
my children
parenting?
Yeah, man. Listen, you all right with your questions, brother? I see why you didn't want to tell me about this before we started.
I'm glad you mentioned that, viewers, because
he's a tricky guy.
There was no preamble. He did not know what he was walking into.
You got to watch this guy. Yeah, you know, I've learned about patience. You know, like my son and I are very close. You know, my daughter and I are not so close, you know, and I had a hard time even to be able to say that, especially to be able to say that on camera. It's not an easy thing to say. To admit it. But it's easier for me now because I understand it. I understand why my relationship with him is the way it is, and my relationship with her is the way it is, and my role that I played in it. So my mom, when I said to you earlier that there were things that I did that made us distant, but she still supported me. She was still there. And it wasn't until, okay, maybe we didn't get a chance. Maybe my biggest regret is that I didn't get a chance to do that while she was alive in terms of telling her how I felt and how appreciative I was of it. Maybe when I was younger, I still got a chance to do that when she was older, you know, when we were older.
You got a chance to show your love.
To show it and to do it. And it healed me.
Beautiful.
So now when I think about that with my daughter and I think about all the challenges and sometimes even if I get angry, I can't really be angry at her. I just have to keep showing her love. And at some point, she'll understand. And I think that's what would do would maybe heal that, for her, not even so much for me.
Okay.
It's to heal that for her. So when she now has her children, she can look at that and say, okay, yeah, me and my dad had our struggles, but we're okay. We were okay. And that okayness can make her okay with hers. And I think that's what's missing in our community, because that's really what family is. Family isn't maybe all of the things we would like it to be, but it is. So in it being, there's things you got to do with it. There's things that have to happen in order for it to work. And I think those things, if we learn those things, it makes us better people.
What would you say would be one of the hardest lessons you've learned personally?
Personally, that, life does have an ending. That was a hard lesson. My mom passed at home, and that's what she wanted. She actually told me that. And I'm very thankful that I got the opportunity to do that for her, to allow her. She was in the medical profession, so she was very, she understood life and death. That was something she always talked to me about, even when I was younger, which I would always be like, why do you keep talking about these things?
Right.
It's not until I get to the age to see it, to understand, okay, this is why she told me, because I got to go through this part, So that was a hard lesson to see, to realize, okay, when it's over, it's over.
When it's your turn, it's
your turn, and we all have to go that road. But the beauty in that was also, it gave me a sense of, well, then if it's going to be over, so what am I doing right now?
Beautiful.
Yeah. What am I doing right now? What am I going to do in this moment? Am I going to be afraid to step up? Is something going to stop me from doing it? Because you know what? We all go in the same place. And when we get in that box, brother, ain't nothing with us. And I had to look at mommy in that box and say, damn, all these things she did, all this work, she's what they say, from dust we come and dust we shall return, right? So if none of this goes, how important is it really? What is really, really, really important if you come to the terms in yourself that this is your ending? So now it makes every day a blessing. It makes every day a present. KRS-One, who's the one who named me Commissioner Gordon, right? And on records, he said to me one day, we were talking, he said, you know why they commission, why they call it the present? And I said, why? He said, because it's a gift. I said, what do you mean a gift? He said, yeah, the present, because this is all we have. Tomorrow is a thought. Yesterday is gone.
Correct.
So what do we really have? We have right now, me and you, Ron, right now. So if we have this exchange right now, what could I give you that could help you? What could you give me that could help me? Why we don't just think about that? If we're thinking about something else, then we're not really considering that when this is gone, we don't know what there is. So why not do a good thing rather than do a bad thing? But humanity got a different.
In being present, what are you most proud of?
I'm proud that I think I had a chance to reach people, because I see that when I travel, even the fact that I could be on a show, even the fact that I could talk to, I've met presidents, I've met kings, I've met homeless people. Everybody to me I'm not partial with that, because we're people, you know what I'm saying? But I think I'm most proud of the fact that I did something that allowed me to do that and do it in many countries. I've done it all over the world. I've had a chance to share with people, and I'm thankful about that.
One of the things that I observe is that you, by profession, are usually behind the scenes.
Yes.
So persons now, through this platform and other mediums, are getting an opportunity to see the man behind the music.
Yeah.
The one that, puts in a lot of the work to make sure that the product that we hear is essentially something that not only the artist is pleased with, but the people fall in love with.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that, because having such an illustrious career, longevity, particularly, you hear all sorts of stuff about the music industry. Persons essentially sometimes feel like they're losing themselves. Having met you and interacting with you, you are by far one of the most grounded and humble people I know. What would you accredit that to, having experienced all that you have? Multi-Grammy award-winning producer and engineer, platinum award-winning. How have you remained that guy from the Bronx?
From the Bronx, I think I'd have to say, it's hard to really think of one particular thing, but maybe spirituality, because always from a child, I had a strong connection with the spirit, whatever you want to call it. People use word higher power. People want to use words, creator. I don't really, as the older I get, the less I'm tied to words and names. It's more the concept. What is it? What was I doing? Like, what is the truth of it? And the truth is, I've always believed that there was a creator, and I've always had a connection. Even people would ask me, I don't say it as much as I used to when I was younger, but I used to say, well, that's who I work for. They said, well, who you work for? You work for Sons? Like, nah, I got a boss. That's my boss. So anything I do in music, I think about that. So when you hear that in the music, and I used to think like that was people can make you feel like that's a weakness, but again, the older I get, I realize that's my strength. That was my protection. That was the song. That was the thing that went into the lyrical content. That was the thing that went into the music, that energy. So then when I look at Lauryn Hill, or I look at Stephen Marley or KRS-One or any of these, Carlos Santana, and I hear certain things now after I've done it, and then I think back on my childhood and I think back on my journey, I realize that is the thing that was guiding me. So why I'm going to change at this point, even though I like hip hop, and as Lauren said, she had in one record, she said, I put an MF in it so you ignorant ones will hear me. So every once in a while, there might be a curse in there. There might be, I mean, that's how I grew up. So I'm not going to alienate somebody to
authentic.
It is, but I'm also not going to be disrespectful or lewd or rude just for the sake of doing that. Why do that? Because what does that have to do with life? When you speak
of that, the way that music has evolved and changed, does that bother you?
Kind of, yeah, because I think we thought about us. So, like, I don't know if you remember. Well, yeah, well,
I don't remember.
Yeah, I know. That's funny. Yeah, I was like, he don't remember. But I'm
going to say this, though. Gordon has been, and he may not want to say it. Let's just say he's been in the music industry
a long time
before I was born.
So
that's true. I don't remember, but continue.
Well, even your parents, there were things that were grown folks' conversations. Grown people talking, go inside. We had a level of respect amongst us before somebody else that now is not there. And I understand why it's not there. I'm not mad at young people for being the way they are, because I think the elders dropped the ball. Okay. I was speaking to a group of people maybe day before yesterday. So funny, because I've spoken to so many people since I've been here. And I was saying that I think that the responsibility is harder, that gap that exists between the youth. And you always say, I don't understand the children. I don't understand the music. What are they talking about? What is this? And we were talking about that. And I said, well, yeah, I feel like in a strange way, I'm sort of in the middle of that conversation, because I have a connection to the youth because of hip hop and my growth in that and working with artists. But then I know who the elders are because I was old enough to see them or hear of them or speak of them. So because I'm in the middle, I sort of feel like I got to help put these two hands back together, right? But in putting the two hands back together, I think the responsibility is more on the elders. It's going to be harder on the elders because the elders have to come down to the kids, because you have to recognize part of why they're like this is because of us and them. So if that's the case and we're the elder, it's your responsibility. So you can't just say you're angry at them. You have to say, I'm angry at, like my mom did for me. Yeah, I don't like how he's doing, but you got to support them. And then they could say, all right, that's a real person who cares about me. Let me see what they're talking about. Yeah. But if you just start off like they don't know and the kids don't know, and then they're going to say, whatever, you know what's going to happen? You're going to die because you're old. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to believe it, but that's what's going to happen. You're going to die and it's going to be their world anyway. So what do you want? Do you want to die and leave them, or do you want to have a chance to leave some of you with them?
A lasting legacy.
Yeah. So I think it's on the elders to come to terms with that and get off of that platform that you have that happens when you get older, and that space when you get older. Like, nobody can teach me nothing. I know everything. No, you don't know everything, because they say the youth is going to lead them, right? The scriptures say that. Say it's going to be the youth. It's their world. So if it's their world, they have something that we don't have. They have something that is coming while ours is going. So come down a little bit, man. Come down and chat to them, man, and talk. And if they're vexed and they walk out, you know what? Come talk to them again.
Yeah.
Don't go, hey, you walked out on me. They might have a good reason
because with that and the reaction of the elders, as you so eloquently said, all it does is widen that gap,
that's
that
all
separation.
it does. It doesn't make anything better. So it will change. It will. You have to know, as an elder, you're supposed to be patient too. That's what we're supposed to be, right? So it will change, but it may take a little bit. So I think it's on us more.
Thank you so much for those nuggets. And if you did not get anything else, I just want to highlight the fact that you're going to die anyway. So
I don't even know where that came from, but it's true. You know what I'm saying?
So you might as well live
and
impact change
now
and do the work before you are no longer with us.
Where you're no longer with us, right? You have a chance. So why don't you take that chance now
and make it meaningful
and make it mean something?
Viewers, we are chopping it up with the one and only Gordon Williams, of course, iconic producer and engineer. We're going to take a quick commercial break. You're watching The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman, Season 5. Let's go.
The wait is over. CCT Fire is here. Experience ultra-fast downloads, seamless streaming, and even more reliable connectivity on an all-new fire-blazing super-fast CCT Fiber network. CCT Fire. Bring it home and upgrade today.
Welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much for sticking with us. I am having a wonderful and so enjoying this conversation with you, Gordon. Being very honest and authentic in sharing. We have listed, we talk about the myriad of persons that you've worked with throughout your career. What was the best piece of advice that you received from anyone within the industry?
I think, I've gotten so much good advice from so many people. I can't really say who's the best, but I can highlight, something that Quincy Jones is my first music mentor. And, a lot of things he said to me, I met him when I was 19 and I was around him for about 3 years. And then after that, then I got a deal at Sony. And then, we didn't really see each other pretty much at all until years later, maybe 20 years after that. I ran into him again and we had a chance to talk, right? But he said a lot of things when I was 19 that I didn't understand until I was maybe about in my 40s or 30s, in my 40s. And, he talked to me a lot about life and a lot about how he related music to life and things that were going on. So one thing he said to me he was talking about one day, it's my first time in LA, right? So at that time, everything that I had done musically, Quincy was my introduction to the real music business because once you start dealing with him, now you're really dealing with mainstream media and all these things. But for me, it was also representing my first time leaving the Bronx, going, not really because I went to the Caribbean, but in America, going to Hollywood, right? Quincy took me to Hollywood. So I'm a little overwhelmed, right? I'm sitting with him in the studio and all the guys that I used to read their names on the back of the Michael Jackson record, they're in the studio working and Tevin Campbell is there and it's lights, camera, action. And I'm sitting in the room and Quincy's writing a horn arrangement. He's writing it by hand. He has a score out and he's in pencil writing horn arrangements on a piece of paper. And I think the whole circumstance must have had me so overwhelmed that you could probably see it on my face. I'm thinking as an 18-year-old, I must have looked like crazy. Yeah. So at one point he's sitting there writing and it's just me and him alone in the room. And I'm looking at the speakers. This is the biggest set of speakers I had ever seen to that point. Biggest studio, biggest board. And Quincy says, hey, G, he has to hit me. And it's like, I told him, I said, hey, what's up? What's up, Q? He said, what do you think about this place? And I said, wow, man, Quincy, this is incredible. And he looked at me and said, yeah, but we don't have no vibe. So when he said that, it really confused me because I'm like almost like, when you see a dog turn his head I'm like, vibe? Because to me, I've never even seen anything like this. To me, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. So he's like, it doesn't have a vibe. You know what I mean? And I said, nah, I don't. I was like, man, Quincy, this place is incredible. He said, let me tell you something. Let me tell you a story. That's what he said. Because he always had a story. And that was the thing with him. He always had a story or he always had something connected to something that taught you a lesson. Okay. So whenever he talked, I was like, what, Quincy, what do you got to say? And he said, when we were doing Thriller, we had a small apartment in Harlem. And there was nothing in the apartment. There was no equipment. It was just an upright piano. And it was him, Saida Garrett, who's a songwriter, and Rod Temperton, who's the musician. And he said, we used to go there and write songs together. And he said, the apartment was on 116th Street. He said it had the piano and it had great pizza downstairs. And we loved each other and we loved being there. And he said, we wrote all the songs in 3 months in this apartment. He said the place had a vibe in it.
Character.
Right. And he said, and it had a vibe with us because we loved each other. And he said, we used to love to hear the kids after school. Like they'd open the window and you'd hear them playing outside and they're upstairs writing. And he said, you know, if you ever have a place with a vibe in it, he said, never let it go, because if you let it go, you'll never get it back. Money can't buy that. So if you ever have that, you have to hold on to it. He said, this place we're in, this studio, he said, this isn't a vibe. This is a place where you can fine tune. It's like an operating room. So after you have your thing recorded, your vibe recorded, he said, you can come here and you can touch it up. You can mix it. He said, the record company people can come. We can order food. You have space for people to be. He said, it's good for that and it's good to finish. He said, but this isn't where you create it. He said, do you understand what I mean now about a vibe? And I was like, okay. And I did, but I really didn't.
Okay.
Fast forward all the way up to now when I come back into the apartment, because now I have that first apartment that I had actually when my first studio started in. Right now, I have that apartment now. And you said something to me yesterday. You said it's like you're at the beginning. You said something, right. Yeah. Okay. So you don't even know how on point you were, because I'm literally at the beginning, because I'm back in the first apartment where my first studio was, because my mom never sold that apartment. So after we started making money, in the music business, we moved to New Jersey. Okay. But the original apartment we had in the Bronx, we owned that. And my mom kept it. So for 35 years, we were living in New Jersey. She kept this apartment empty in the Bronx. And I never understood why. I used to actually fight with her to get rid of the place. Like, Ma, sell the place. Why are you paying maintenance for? She said, boy, just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. It's my place. It ended up being the place that I needed for her, because then at that point, now I had this place empty. I did a little renovation. I moved nurses in there. I moved her in there. She was able to be in her place. Beautiful. In the end of her life. And it all made sense. But now, as I'm back in that same bedroom there, because my plan was never really to stay there. My plan was just to keep it, to use it for her. And then whenever that day came, I'd move, But I'm actually in the apartment, in the room, at the same place when Quincy told me that. So now as I'm sitting in the room, I think back about what he said, because I'm in the place where I was talking to him. When I used to talk to him on the phone, I was in this same room. And then it all hit me, because being in that apartment, all the feelings that I had as a kid, when I used to listen out the window to hip hop outside, I used to be in this room. When I was DJing and the little kids used to come and rap and everybody was rapping it, we were in this room. When I met KRS-One and we were working on it, we were in this room, this is the launching pad. And then I remembered what he said about the vibe. And it just made me think about people, like what he was really saying, like the vibe, but the energy, the place where you create from. Sometimes those places don't have anything special about it other than you and the place. But
the people who
the spirits that you congregated with. So now you get successful and you move on. But when you move on, it's not the same as that place. So you might overlook the place because it doesn't look like anything. It may just be a little old shack or a little old place. But that place is the place.
Speaking of the vibe, though, and the people and the environment that you choose to be in or surround yourself with, when you started out versus now, would you say you're a bit more particular or intentional with who you choose to have in your space?
Absolutely. With everything. I'm more I'm intentional, but I also allow it. Like I allow to see, where am I being sent? Why does the spirit want me? Where am I going? But even though I'm allowing it, I'm watching it to see what is it? What's going on? I'm going to follow, but I'm also going to, edit. If you want to look at it, I'm going to shoot, I'm going to record, but I'm also going to edit when I need to edit. And it does make it more intentional. And I think you can recognize then at that point, because you can see the things that maybe helped you or the things that hurt you. And then you know how to kind of move from there.
Is there any, and you might get in trouble for this, but have there been any artists, particularly out of all of them who you worked with, that you just truly enjoyed?
Yes.
Some of your favorite artists to work with.
Yes. They've been, yeah. Oh, you want a name?
Yeah.
You want some name? Oh, this is that type of show. You want a name? that I truly enjoy, Stephen Marley. I think I mentioned it before.
Yes,
I've been mentioning this
you
the
did.
whole time
Yeah.
I'm here because I guess I'm thinking about him because I'm in the
You
Caribbean.
mentioned his name before.
Yeah, I keep mentioning his name because I guess being in the Caribbean.
You've also spoken about Lauryn Hill
And
quite
Lauryn
a bit.
Hill, yeah, her too. You know, me and Lauryn had a lot of trying times, you know, because everything wasn't great, you know, but she's great. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing else for me to really say about Lauryn other than she's great. And that I'm thankful that I got a chance to meet her and work with her in this lifetime because we had some amazing moments and I'll never forget it. So she was like that. KRS-One, same thing. Very challenging. He was great. You know, there were some times where it was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you actually recognize you're in the presence of somebody special. And the thing that's happening right now is something special. Like I've had that happen with all of them, you know, that there were times when it was like that. So I would say those three out of everybody have that.
And how have you maneuvered? You used the word challenging, which is okay. But how have you maneuvered working with artists who, for lack of a better word, could have been challenging?
Challenging? I think, you know, every time it was different. It takes a lot of patience. It's like being a parent in a way, in a way now after having children, because you have to guide your children, but you have to allow them too. Like you can't, they're not our children, like we're their conduit, but they're a person, you know what I mean? A person that's going to have to figure things out. So you have to guide them, but then sometimes you have to let them fall. Sometimes you have to let them, okay, that's what you want to do. Even if you think it's not the right thing, let them do it. And sometimes it turns out bad, but then sometimes it turns out good. You know, you allow them and then they do something that you wouldn't have thought. So it's like that. It's like that. If you really want to give of yourself to the thing, you could come in and be a control freak. You could do this and do that. And this is what I say. And there are people that work like that. I never was successful like that. So I didn't really know that way. I just kind of go and ebb and flow with the project.
Gotcha. Yeah. Gordon, I want to thank you so very much for your authenticity and sharing and speaking of your journey. But most importantly, I want to thank you for the gift that you've given us through your musical production and engineering. Now I think persons would have a face to the name. And they get an opportunity to see who has worked behind the scenes for so long, creating a lot of the hits that we enjoy today. I want to thank you for giving back. I know you have a lot of work to do, a lot more to do, but particularly in your quest to mentor the next generation and be of much assistance to grooming and helping to build a generation of greatness, particularly when it comes to young men. I applaud you and I thank you so much, and continue to let the Spirit lead you.
Yeah, thank you, brother. I'm so glad that you asked me to come and do this.
You're most welcome.
And I'm glad you kept the questions to yourself because it did help it to come out. So, anytime, and, with hopefully, and I'm going to say it on air, that we'll be back here and we'll be setting up business here, that when we get set up, I would love our program to interact with Mr. Grant and his operation here, in terms of internships. I think it's something that should be supported. I think he's a very inspirational. I've been around a lot of people. I could say he's one of those people. So, hopefully we can work together as an organization even more formally than an interview.
Absolutely. We got you.
Yeah.
Viewers, it's season 5 and I'm having an absolute blast, of course. We have, for the 5th season, we have continued to highlight the best and brightest of the Virgin Islands and, of course, the region. And you got an opportunity. He has some strong Caribbean roots. But you got an opportunity to be international and head all over to the Bronx, New York, with the one and only Gordon Williams. I can see why they've called him the commissioner for so long. Most importantly, I want to thank you guys for rocking with us on this journey. We will continue to highlight the best and brightest of the men that continue to impact our lives. You're watching The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman. It's season 5. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of the day. I'll see you next week.